Okay. So, I just finished attempting to film a video of myself reading Chapter 7 of The Papa to post on Tuesday on my other channel, like I've been doing, and I couldn't get a good take. I couldn't get past the first, paragraph, because first it was me choosing to start over, and then it was my family right outside the basement door being so loud. There was one take where you could hear my mom blow her nose. I'm not even kidding. I went back and I watched it, and it was so noticeable. I didn't even have to turn the volume up. You can just hear, just the sound of her blowing her nose. That's how loud this was. And if I can hear it that clearly, and I can confirm that the camera could hear her blowing her nose, I'm sure you guys would have been able to hear everything, every word out of their mouths. And, it would be not only distracting from me reading the story, but also just, I'm sure they don't want to be heard. Yet they're talking so loudly, and they knew I came down here to film it. Whatever. Um, anyway, I realized it's probably about time to do my live stream. I don't have that much time left, so I checked the time. Sure enough, it was 7:58, and I'm like, well, shit. I guess I might as well just go live, even though I didn't finish filming the video, and maybe I'll just film the video after the live stream. So can I confirm that I have an audience right now, or is no one here? Because if I don't have an audience, I'm not doing shit. I am hoping maybe you guys can help me proofread this. Although, if I'm being honest, most of the proofreading would require you to actually read it. And I don't think that would work. So, proofreading aside, what I might take as suggestions of things being worded differently rather than grammatical corrections, just like, if you want to make, I can see you, Royce, but, and I've known about the 10-second lag for a few weeks, or at least I've known that it's 10 seconds for a few weeks, but, yeah, I'm trying to, it's nice to have this printed. I did double-sided to save paper. But I'm trying to, make sure that I get a final version of it. I might let an AI proofread it, if I'm being honest, because that, honestly, that works. Hey, Dave's here. Are you okay, Tristan? Why would I not be okay? I'm realizing I'm not totally confident in Chapter 7, but looking back at the other chapters, it fits right in, actually, so if I'm not confident about Chapter 7, I shouldn't be confident about the rest of it. It's all just the same. It's all so fucking weird. I'm also kind of curious how long it would take me to read this whole story. So let me know, do you guys want to hear the full story? Do you guys even want to get a sneak peek of Chapter 7 early? Because I'm posting it on Tuesday. I'm posting the final chapter on Philosophical Psychology channel on Tuesday, but you guys can hear it early if you stick around and you listen to the first 6 chapters again. I kind of want to read the whole thing and just time it, see how long it takes for me to actually do it. Way to go, Tiger. I have Robin stuck in my head. I have the entire Taylor Swift album stuck in my head. It's so fucking good. Every song is so good. I don't understand how people are saying it sounds like AI, or that, anybody could have written it, or, just stupid shit like that. It's not something that I could have written, you know? And I do sometimes make music. Although I just have a follow-through issue. Did you guys ever listen to my song Higher that I never finished? I just wrote it in the shower one day, and then I posted it, right after I got out of the shower. just because I didn't trust that I'd remember it. If I'm being honest, I don't remember it. I don't remember what it sounds like. I don't remember how I felt when I was singing it. All I remember is that I thought it was good, and I posted it here because I was proud of myself, and then I just moved on from it. But at least it's here. At least it's something. Show me the fever into the fire, taking it higher and higher. Wet Hot American Summer. So who is here and who wants to hear the Papa? I need a text confirmation before I start. Need to make sure you guys are actually going to stick with me for the whole thing. I don't want people going in and out. Let me know when I can start. Dave's here. Anybody else, or is it just Dave? Because it says I have 2 people. Okay, Royce. Royce, have you... Dave and Royce, have you both already heard the first 6 chapters? Have you been watching what I've been posting on my... Oh, God, I keep almost burping. On my other channel? Or is one or both of you going into this completely blind? Just so I know if I'm reading something you guys have already heard or not. I heard your Papa stories. No, I've not heard any of the Papa yet. All right, Royce, well, you get to hear the full thing then. Is Tim with you? Can Tim hear me, I guess, is the better question, if he is. I've told you a little bit about it. Gosh, I don't know what I would have told you. I don't know how I could even begin to explain Tim, the guy from jail. Dave, how do you know that? I guess maybe he's talked about it. Okay. All right, well, I'm just going to get started then. So, this is the Papa, and it's 7 chapters, 8 pages, and these are what the pages look like, just so you have an idea of the length. Sebastian, who is this? Someone who knows Dave? All right, well, I am going to be reading a story. I haven't started yet, for anyone who's just getting here. Now it says I have 4 people watching. Okay. So, I am not going to be looking at comments while I read this, because I want to time myself. Sebastian knows me from shit. Oh, okay. Another YouTuber. Yeah, because you tell us about each other, apparently. So, that's how I found Aaron. All right. We're 8 minutes and 38 seconds in, so I'll just subtract that from however long it takes me. The Papa, Chapter 1, The Test. An old man in a business suit was swimming in the ocean. Small brown fish with white seashells on their backs surrounded the old man as he reached out to grab them. "Shellfishes!" the man exclaimed with a smile. A voice beckoned. "John, are you in there?" The old man was annoyed by the interruption. He woke up to find his wife opening his bedroom door. "Have you been asleep? Did you even go to work today?" she asked. John said, "The shellfishes needed grabbing, wife Joey. My fingers are starting to smell bad. Now move, I need milk." He pushed past Joey and made his way downstairs to the microwave to heat up some milk. A teenage boy named Tristan crawled under his bed to retrieve his pencil. A loud voice suddenly said, "Hey, little buddy!" Startled, he shot upward and hit his head on the bottom of the bed. He crawled out to find his grandpa standing behind him with a goofy grin on his face. "How did you get in here? Didn't I lock my door?" Tristan asked, confused. John looked at the door and said, "Looks like it." Realizing that he wasn't going to get a clear answer, Tristan decided to let it go. "What do you want?" he asked. John said, "I found a picture of you on your phone, and I just wanted to let you know that I think you look really ugly." Tristan said, "What? When did you go through my phone?" John pulled Tristan's phone out of his pocket and handed it to him. Tristan said, "I guess I need a new passcode." John started tapping his foot. "What is wrong with you?" Tristan asked. John raised his eyebrows and said, "Thank you, Papa." Tristan said, "No, you can't seriously expect me to thank you for returning something you stole from me." John grunted. "Anyway," Tristan said, "I have a math test tomorrow and I'd like to study in peace. Can you please leave?" John shouted, "Oh, I love tests. I had a coin counter in college and seagulls used to pull my meat right out of the bread." Tristan stared at John, unsure what to think or say. John said, "You should let me help you study. I have a suitcase." Tristan said, "I think I'm good on my own." John made a face comparable to that of a baby whose candy had just been stolen. Tristan rolled his eyes and turned to continue searching under the bed for his pencil. When he emerged with the pencil, John was nowhere in sight. Tristan's classmates were sharing funny stories in the cafeteria after the test, so he decided to chime in with some stories about his grandpa's peculiar behavior. "I think he's actually losing his mind. Even as recently as last night, he just showed up in my room somehow and started talking about coin counters and seagulls in the same sentence. I really don't know how he got in there. I swear I locked my door. I'm starting to wonder if I'm the one going crazy." Lizzie remarked, "I mean, it sounds like one of you is going to get committed either way." Everyone laughed, but Tristan started to genuinely worry. John's behavior was more than concerning at this point, and Tristan feared that it may be genetic. John hadn't been seen... Oh, sorry, let me read the title. Chapter 2, The Closet. John hadn't been seen since the night before Tristan's test, so Joy decided to file a missing persons report. Tristan was having trouble sleeping with everything on his mind. He decided to FaceTime his only friend who'd still be awake. "I just can't stop thinking about him. It isn't like him to just disappear," Tristan told Aiden. Aiden said, "You really can't think of anywhere he might be?" Tristan said, "I don't know what I'm supposed to think at this point. He used to be like my best friend, but he's gotten so weird lately. It's been a while since he said anything that made sense. That's what's scaring me. I just feel like he could be anywhere, and there's a real chance that I'll never see him again." Aiden said, "My dad died when I was really young. I know how scary it is to lose someone that close to you, but I'm sure you'll see him again. Don't lose hope." Tristan said, "We really need to meet in person someday so I can finally hug you." Aiden smiled. Tristan said, "I have to pee, and I should probably be going to sleep anyway." Aiden said, "I'll still be up if you need to talk. Keep me updated, all right?" Tristan decided to use the bathroom in John's bedroom. He heard a faint noise coming from the closet, so he opened the door and found John sobbing in the corner. "Papa? What the hell are you doing in here?" Tristan asked. "You!" John screamed accusingly. He stood up and said, "You did this to me, little buddy." Tristan said, "I locked you in a closet?" John said, "You took my feelings and put them through a blender." Tristan started backing away when he noticed the large kitchen knife in John's hand. "Please put down the knife." John smiled and said, "I bet you'd like that, wouldn't you? You want to pretend this all away, but I want you to apologize for your wickedness." Tristan said, "I don't even know what you think I did." John shouted, "You wouldn't let me help you study! The cruel nature of your indifference to my willingness to assist you cuts me to my very core. I don't even know who I am if not a help to my little buddy." Tristan said, "Are you being serious right now? You've been crying in your closet because I didn't let you help me with a test? It's been 2 days since anyone's seen you. We literally filed a missing persons report this morning." John pointed the knife at Tristan and said, "You better change your tone and change it quick. I'm tired of being talked to this way, little buddy. Anyway, how'd you do on that test?" Tristan paused for a moment before saying, "I'll find out for sure tomorrow, but I think I did a pretty good job." John said, "We'll just see about that." He then put the knife behind his pillow and climbed into bed. Tristan told Aiden what happened. "Did he threaten you?" Aiden asked. Tristan said, "It was implied. I don't even want to think about what he might do if I don't get a perfect grade tomorrow." Aiden said, "Did you tell your mom or your grandma about this?" Tristan said, "It literally just happened, and it's the middle of the night. I'll just tell them in the morning. I still can't believe he's been in his closet this whole time." Let me see if I missed any comments. Okay. Chapter 3, The Lie. Tristan sat anxiously awaiting his test results. Noticing that a couple of his classmates had perfect scores, he felt a knot in his stomach. When the teacher handed him his graded test, Tristan was afraid to look. At first, he was pleasantly surprised to see a 98%, but then he wondered if it would be good enough for John. Tristan came home to find John waiting at the door. "So what was your score, little buddy?" he asked menacingly. Noticing that John was hiding a hand behind his back, Tristan decided to lie. "I got 100%, just like everyone else. It wasn't even hard." John stared for a moment before revealing the knife behind his back.
I suppose I should put this back behind my pillow now.
As John walked upstairs, Tristan heard him muttering to himself, "It would have been 200% if he let me help him." Tristan kept the test in his backpack and put it under his bed before taking a well-deserved nap.
Wake up, little buddy!
Tristan was jolted out of his sleep by a booming voice. John shoved a paper in Tristan's face and said,
It wasn't hard, huh?
Tristan said, "It really wasn't. I only exaggerated because I didn't want to risk upsetting you more than I already had." John said,
As if blendering my feelings wasn't bad enough, you had to proceed to take my blendered feelings and put them back inside my body. You lied to me, little buddy. I thought you were different, but you're just like all the other meanies. This is why you'll never see a cow on the rain hole.
Tristan said, "What?" John threw the paper at Tristan as he turned to leave the room. Tristan said, "How did you even find this? I had it hidden under my bed." John turned back to face Tristan and said,
That's where I sleep on Mondays.
The next day at school, Tristan confided in his classmates that he was beginning to fear for his safety at home. He didn't want to see his grandpa taken away, but he was starting to think that there was no other option. Lizzie said, "I'll happily tell my mom if you don't tell yours. You're clearly not safe there, Tristan." Tristan said, "My family already knows he's losing his mind. They just don't know about the knife incident. I was afraid of how they'd react if I told them. Now I'm just afraid they'll be mad that I waited to tell them." Terry chimed in and said, "You really should, though. Nobody wants to see you get hurt." Tristan sighed. He knew they were right, but he couldn't bear the thought of losing his grandpa. Chapter 4. The Blender. Tristan woke to the sound of a blender in the distance. He followed it into the kitchen and found John. "What are you doing up?" Tristan asked. John turned around and said,
The crickets were making too much noise. They had to be silenced.
Tristan watched in horror as John's expression turned to a grimace, and he revealed the contents of the blender. Fighting off nausea, Tristan asked, "Where the hell did you get live crickets?" John said,
I've had enough of your meanery. Get ready to join the crickets.
Tristan ran to the knives and grabbed the biggest one. "Stay back! I don't want to hurt you!" John said,
You're a bit late for that.
He charged at Tristan and ran into his knife. Tristan stabbed him in the heart, but there was no blood when he pulled the knife out. What are you?" Tristan asked. John smiled.
Little buddy, don't you know? I'm the papa.
Tristan woke to the sound of a blender in the distance. "Didn't we already do this?" he said to himself. Assuming it had just been a nightmare caused by the sound of the real blender, he decided to go downstairs and see what was actually going on. Sure enough, he found John in the kitchen with the blender. "What are you doing up?" Tristan asked hesitantly. John paused for a moment before turning around and saying,
I'm just making a smoothie. You want one?
Tristan let out a sigh of relief and said, "I'm good, thanks. Anyway, you would not believe the dream I just had." John said,
Tell me about it.
Tristan continued, "Well, it actually started just like this. I found you in the kitchen with the blender, then you started talking about crickets and you tried to kill me." John said,
There's no need to talk about the crickets now. They've been dealt with.
Tristan felt his stomach sink. John said,
You put my feelings in a blender, little buddy. Prepare to find out how it feels.
He grabbed Tristan's hand and tried shoving it into the blender. "Let me go, you psycho!" Tristan shouted in desperation. John let go and reached for his heart.
Why do you always have to criticize me? This ain't a roast.
Tristan was curious, so he tried it again. "You're a psychopath!" John cried out in pain. Tristan continued, "Let's see. Nothing you do or say makes any sense. You've been threatening me with a knife and now a blender. You wear that suit religiously, and I wouldn't be surprised if you sleep in it. You're clearly not competent enough to take a math test. And you have an ugly bald spot on the back of your head." John was struggling to speak now.
Little buddy, please.
Tristan said, "I don't know how I ever cared about you. You're not even human. I hate you." Tristan noticed that John was bleeding through his shirt, in the same place he'd been stabbed in the dream. Chapter 5. The Warm Milk. Don't you think it's more likely that the dream came after you stabbed him? You can recall two different versions of this event, and you believe one of them is a dream, but how would you have been able to dream about this before it happened? I think you stabbed him, which would explain his stab wound and his blood on the knife. Then you passed out and imagined a different version of events to cope with the situation. Tristan thought carefully about his lawyer's words before responding. "No, you're right. I know it doesn't make any sense, and I can't expect to convince anyone otherwise. I don't even know what I believe anymore. I feel like I can't trust myself." It was determined that Tristan had murdered John and was not mentally fit to stand trial, so he was sent to a psychiatric facility for treatment. Tristan finally felt safe for the first time since he found John in the closet, but that feeling only lasted a few weeks. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He felt like he was never alone, and it was even worse at night. He kept waking up at 3 a.m., convinced that he had heard a noise. One morning, he noticed a stain on his bedsheet that hadn't been there when he went to sleep. He told the staff to check the security footage, but they were dismissive of the whole thing. One night, he decided to try and stay awake until 3 a.m. to see if he could figure out what had been waking him up. It was 2:55 when he saw the doorknob turn. He was terrified and unsure what to do. He wanted to hide, but there was no time. He considered pretending to be asleep, but ultimately decided to confront the creep who'd been presumably watching him sleep. He watched in horror as the door opened.
Little buddy, you're supposed to be asleep.
Tristan couldn't believe his eyes. The man he killed was standing in his doorway, talking to him like nothing happened.
How are you alive? Tristan asked. John said, Listen here, buddy, Mr. Little. Your wickedness extends far beyond the realm of samples. I have no more depth than the white cat left burning in the moonlight.
Tristan sat and blinked for a few moments, trying to figure out what to think. He eventually said, I was actually starting to think I was getting my sanity back, but you just proved me wrong. I'm either completely insane, or I'm looking at some supernatural freak. John approached the bed, sat down in the chair, and said,
Now, we don't use words like that. That offends me.
He was about to drink what was in the coffee cup before Tristan knocked it out of his hand. The cup broke and milk spilled everywhere. John had a look of abject terror on his face. He flew out of the chair and ran to the door. Tristan followed him to a secret passageway under a tile in the hall. John had a microwave and a fridge full of milk in a tunnel under the hospital. Have you been living down here? Tristan asked. John ignored him and started frantically preparing another cup of warm milk. Tristan broke the second cup before John had a chance to drink it, and John's look of terror transformed into anger. He lunged at Tristan and started strangling him. Tristan screamed and cried out for help, but he feared that no one would find him in time. The staff arrived at 3:01 to find Tristan drenched in warm milk. After reviewing the security footage from the hallway, it was decided that John was alive and Tristan was innocent. Tristan was finally free, but at what cost? Okay. Chapter 6, The Nightmare. Aiden was glad to hear from Tristan. Where have you been? I was starting to think you died. Tristan said, I almost did. Multiple times, actually. Aiden said, Are you serious? I'm all ears. What happened? Tristan said, Well, you're going to think I'm crazy. Can I tell you the truth? Aiden said, Of course. I know you wouldn't lie to me. I already knew you were crazy. Tristan laughed and said, I'm just going to say it, even if it sounds totally nuts. Basically, my grandpa tried to kill me with a blender, so I roasted him until he died somehow. But then a stab wound magically appeared in his chest, and blood magically appeared in a knife, so everyone thought I lost my mind and murdered him. I was sent to a nut house where my grandpa had apparently been watching me sleep and drinking warm milk every night. I eventually caught him and chased him to his underground hideout where he tried to strangle me, and then he turned into warm milk for some reason. Everyone just thinks he dumped milk on me since he had a fridge full of it nearby, but the security footage only showed me chasing him into the tunnel, so all they can be sure of is that he's alive. The theory is that he faked his own death and tried to frame me for his murder. They're guessing his goal was to land me in that hospital so he could have me trapped or something, but no one really knows what to think, myself included. Aiden was speechless. So, you actually saw him turn into warm milk? Tristan said, Yes! Dude, I was covered in him. It was disgusting. Aiden said, You're really not messing with me. Tristan said, I really wish I was. I think about him every time I shower now. That milk was everywhere. Plus, I keep having this nightmare of him rubbing me while I'm paralyzed in that hospital bed from the nut house. Aiden said, Rubbing you? Do I want to know what that means? Tristan said, Okay, I hear how that sounds now. No, he's just rubbing my arms while staring at me. Sometimes he uses a moist washcloth. Aiden said, Oh, come on, you know I hate that word. Why would you say it like that? Tristan said, Because I know you hate that word. And I wanted to emphasize how creepy it feels. Aiden said, Right, I got that. So, how long have you been having this dream? Tristan said, It started the same night he turned into warm milk. It's the same dream every night. Aiden said, Sorry, I'm just having a hard time with all this. You're really asking me to believe that he turned into warm milk? Tristan said, Yes. He died the first time because I hurt his feelings. Then I think he died the second time because I stopped him from drinking warm milk before a certain time. Aiden said, but how is that possible? Tristan said, I'll let you know when I find out. For now, your guess is as good as mine. Besides, it's not the only thing I can't explain. He was always popping up in places he shouldn't have been able to get into. I know it seems like I'm just lying or crazy, but there's something wrong with him. I know that now. I know I'm not the problem. I've been convinced of that ever since he was proven to be alive on the security footage. Aiden said, I don't think you're lying. It doesn't make any sense. But I believe you. I'm here for you. Tristan said, thank you. I knew I could trust you. Aiden said, by the way, have you tried lucid dreaming to stop those nightmares? Tristan said, I actually completely forgot that was even a thing. Thank you, I'll try it tonight. Tristan watched as John walked through the door, moist washcloth in hand, ready to do some rubbing. John rolled up his sleeves and got into position. Just as he was about to start, Tristan punched him in the face.
Ouch! My face!
John cried out in pain. Tristan said, wow, it actually worked? I can finally move. John said,
but how? You're supposed to be paralyzed.
Tristan said, this is just a dream, and it's my dream. I can make anything happen, and I'm tired of dreaming about you. Tristan threw John across the room with his mind. John said,
I swear you get meaner every time I see you. You don't even need soup on the train anymore.
Suddenly, all the windows shattered and fire engulfed the room. A giant red hand with black fingernails reached in through the window and grabbed John.
Hey, what are you doing? Put me down!
John shouted. Tristan said, I'm not doing this, I swear. Maybe it's the universe finally delivering some justice. John shouted,
put me down, hand! You've got the wrong guy! I always let people help me study.
Tristan rolled his eyes and watched as the hand quickly yanked John into the flames. Tristan woke up and never thought of John again. In fact, he couldn't even remember him. Chapter 7. The final chapter, The Big Reveal. Tristan backed away from his grandson and said, let's not get nasty now, little buddy. You can't be saying these types of things. Hasn't anyone ever told you about my feelings? Sean said, I used to think you had feelings, but now I'm just afraid of you. You're a monster. It wasn't long before Tristan felt his heart stop beating, and he suddenly found himself surrounded by nothing but white. A man in a business suit appeared before him and said, welcome back. Tristan said, hey, what happened? Who are you? Where am I? The man said, you don't remember our last meeting? You were much younger, but it's hard to believe you'd forget being given a second chance at life. Tristan said, you can do that? Can I come back and get revenge on my nasty grandson? I think I just died of a broken heart. His meanery is unforgivable. The man said, you can come back if you sign this contract. Just like last time, there are conditions you'll want to read carefully before signing. Tristan snatched the contract and pen from the man and scribbled his name faster than the man could finish speaking. Golden glitter started to fall from the contract, and Tristan watched as it swirled into a vortex, taking him back to Sean. Okay. Sean was able to convince everyone that he wasn't responsible for Tristan's death. As crazy as it sounded, his family and friends believed the whole story because they knew they could trust him. He may not have been trapped in a mental institution, but he was still seeing a therapist, so Tristan decided to try and use her to get to Sean. Wait, you're his grandfather? You're alive? Tristan said,
no thanks to little buddy. He's a meanie, that one. I could have been a goner, so you better watch out before he tries to grow corn in a milk field. The therapist thought she was being pranked. She asked him to leave, so he made his way back home to Sean. He got lost on the way, got into a couple fights, and didn't make it back until 2:55 in the morning. He ran upstairs to Sean's room and found him sitting up in bed, staring at him with fear and confusion. Am I seeing things? I thought you were dead. Tristan said, I was, but now it's your turn. He charged at Sean and tackled him on the bed. He was strangling him until Sean was able to push him off. He screamed, help! Please, he's trying to kill me! Everyone woke up and found Tristan standing in Sean's room. He said, you guys don't understand how cruel he is. You have to let me kill him. He's the reason coins go well with sushi. He's the reason coins go well with sushi. No one knew what to think, even more so after they watched Tristan melt into a puddle of warm milk.
This will be your last chance to get revenge on Sean. I can't allow you to come back to life again, but I can give you access to Sean's subconscious and allow you to torment you to your heart's content. I'm sorry, let me read that again. This will be your last chance to get your revenge on Sean. I can't allow you to come back to life again, but I can give you access to Sean's subconscious and allow you to torment to your heart's content. Tristan said, "What happened to my last chance? I was just alive 1 second and then I was back here all of a sudden." The man said, "You didn't bother to read the terms and conditions of your last chance. You needed to drink warm milk every night between 2:55 a.m. and 3 a.m. in order to avoid becoming warm milk yourself. It's not my fault that you got impatient." Tristan said, "Don't talk to me like that. You're the enemy. I have had enough of the meanery. I can't take it anymore. This ends here." Tristan snatched the contract from the man and ripped it in half. The man screamed, "No! What have you done?" Tristan watched as the man transformed into a giant red beast with goat legs and horns. The white space transformed into fire, and Tristan was left standing on a rock at the center of it. The beast was sitting in front of him on a throne, tapping his black fingernails on the arm. "You're the devil?" Tristan shouted. In a deep, booming voice, the beast replied, "I suppose you could call me that. I keep watch over the souls who made bad choices. It's just my job." Tristan said, "Wait, I think I've seen you before. Your hand, anyway. Where was I? Was it a dream?" The devil said, "Just give it a moment. Your memories are still settling in." Tristan said, "You were in a dream. You saved me from my grandpa. Why did I completely forget he existed after that?" The devil said, "He died before you were born. You only got to meet him because of the deal he made with me, and once that was fulfilled, I changed everyone's memories to what they would have been if he had never made that deal. The only difference is that I have his soul now." Tristan said, "You tricked me into signing that contract the first time I died. You said it was for the sake of my family, but now they won't even remember me surviving." The devil said, "They will, because you neglected to sign the third contract. I was forced to give people 3 chances to make the right choice, but I found a loophole in including something in the conditions of the first contract that leaves you with almost no choice but to sign the other 2. As you get older, you begin to fixate on someone who can do no right in your eyes. That blind hatred is the motivation to sign the other 2, thinking you'll get revenge. So no one who signs the first contract skips out on the rest. What you did is extraordinarily rare." Tristan said, "I guess that makes sense, but why all the weirdness? It went beyond me just hating Sean." The devil said, "You can thank your grandfather for that. John was the source of inspiration for a lot of my newer ideas. I do it for my own entertainment, so some of it is just pure nonsense. By the way, feel free to write to John when you're in heaven. He talks about you a lot. He's still nuts, but without the hatred from our deal, he's harmless. He really misses you." Tristan made it to heaven and was surprised to learn that he could choose what age he wanted to be, so he picked the age he was when John tried to help him with a test. Sean eventually joined him and picked the same age. "Sean, is that you? Please tell me you died of natural causes." Sean said, "Do I know you?" Tristan said, "I'm your grandpa, the crazy one who tried to kill you and turned into milk." Tri- um, "I'm your grandpa, the crazy one who tried to kill you and turned into milk." Sean said, "I didn't recognize you, and I'm glad because you gave me nightmares for years." Tristan said, "Those nightmares could have been even worse if I had signed the third contract with the devil. I could have actually been tormenting you in your dreams." Sean said, "Wait, what are you talking about?" Tristan said, "You don't know? I guess you must have lived a long life then. The devil interjects sometimes when people die young and he gives you a chance to come back, but he makes you crazy so you aren't even like yourself anymore. It only gets worse with age. He sometimes adds stuff just for his own entertainment, like giving my grandpa the ability to teleport as long as no one's looking. He used that a lot to get into my room. There's also stuff like in the first deal, you can only die if someone hurts your feelings, and you have to drink warm milk every night in the second deal. He actually got a lot of these ideas from my grandpa, who was apparently just weird to begin with. Anyway, he needs you to make 3 deals before he officially has your soul, and if you make all 3 deals, he takes away everyone's memory of you surviving in the first place. I was really mad about that because my family not having to grieve me was the only reason I signed it in the first place. You guys only remember me because I didn't make the 3rd deal." Sean said, "What stopped you?" Tristan said, "I don't even know. I was blinded by rage, which I couldn't help because I was basically under a spell, but something just made me angry enough to tear up the last contract. Maybe I was just angry about hatred itself and couldn't stand the idea of contributing to it. I'm really sorry for what I put you through. I know I was under a spell, but I should never have taken that deal in the first place." Sean said, "You weren't as crazy when I was younger. I'm glad I got to meet you, so don't apologize for taking the first deal. It sucks that I remember how scary you were toward the end, too, but I guess I have to take the bad with the good. I hope we can be friends now. Tristan and Sean were finally free to live happily ever after. All right, and that's the full story. The reason I worded it like that at the end is because I'm not saying they lived happily ever after. I'm saying they were free to live happily ever after, should they choose it. But depending on whether or not I write the sequels, there may be a little more going on than that. So, what did you guys think? Yeah. Um, it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy. And I literally wrote this when I was 13 years old, so go figure. The fuck was going on in my head back then? 36 minutes. Okay. So it took me about 30 minutes to read the whole thing. That's not bad, honestly. 30 minutes? That's a decent length. I feel like, I always thought of it as a short story, but 30 whole minutes to read it. That's a good length. I can live with that. I did like that. That was good. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you liked it. Let me know if you guys would be interested in the sequel. And then when I finish this live stream, I'm gonna have to record a video of myself reading chapter 7. And hopefully I do a better job than I just did reading it live. But I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay. I got the idea for the sequel from a dream that I had once. It was a really weird dream. I was like, I don't know if I was in a summer camp or something, but there was this big like chain link fence and a campfire, and all these people were, at the campfire, and then the fire blew up and there was some weird incident. Something weird happened. And it was like some dark evil force, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's the Papa!" Like it was some old campfire story, the Papa or something. Um, and then it turned into like a murder mystery. It was like someone is pretending to be the Papa, a little bit like Scooby Doo. Like we got to figure out who is it, who's the Papa. And my grandpa was in the dream, just himself, just John, and I was thinking like, I've seen this movie. I know it's him. That's the twist. The Papa is the Papa. It's just him. And the funny thing is, it was like I was in the dream, but also like I was watching a movie that I had already seen, and I knew the ending. It was really weird. I don't know how to explain it. Dreams are dreams, you know. But when I woke up, I immediately thought, hey, that's actually a really interesting idea for a sequel to the Papa, where it's like a murder mystery, um, where you're trying to figure out what's going on the whole time. Um, and so that's all I'm gonna say. The Papa 2 takes place at a summer camp. I made it work. The Papa 3 is really fun. That one I got the idea from season 5, part 2 of Once Upon a Time, which is a really good show. I would recommend watching it. It's on Disney Plus, and it's an ABC show. So yeah, Once Upon a Time is amazing. And in season 5, they went to the underworld. So in the Papa 3, it takes place in a hellish version of New York City. Basically, the devil decided to make hell New York City. And that little throne room that you saw, that isn't hell, it's just sort of like the space between. But if you actually were to drop into the fire, you would go to New York City, where the sky is basically red or orange. And there's all sorts of creepy shit that just it's just the devil having a good time, and he's of course dressed like the man in the business suit. So that's the form that he normally takes, and he's in charge of everything down there. So that was excuse me, a lot of fun to come up with all that. And there's an interesting twist in that one too. But every Papa story has a twist at the end. So chapter 7 of the Papa 2 is called The Bigger Reveal, and chapter 7 of the Papa 3 is called The Biggest Reveal. And then there was one time I tried writing the Papa 4, which involved time travel, and that one got really weird. I'm not sure how I feel about that, if I would want to rewrite that. I don't know, but the last chapter of that one was just called The Final Chapter or something, so I don't think I would do that. I think it really only needs 3. The Papa trilogy is kind of a fun thing to call it. But yeah, it's a strange story. I had fun writing it, and then I got the idea for an untold story. Again, I think it was from Once Upon a Time. This was all written around the same time, like almost 10 years ago, and I never finished it. An untold story was just something that I thought of, and I didn't really do anything with it. I was like, oh, this is a good idea, and then I didn't go anywhere with it. So I only got through like 3 chapters, but I went back and I read the original version of An Untold Story, and it is surprisingly similar to some of the shit that I have now. And I didn't even do that on purpose. Like, some of the elements that I used still came back up, which just shows how important it is and how those really must just be integral parts of the story. Because even when I tried to go in fresh, I still wound up using a lot of the same elements, like a mirror that you can walk through, something about a character going into a book and learning dark stuff about their past, just shit like that I didn't think. Oh, and even a character's name. This one really threw me off because there's one character, as long as I could remember, his name was Jacob, and it was the father of the main character's son. And I was trying to give him a new name because Jacob, for some reason, didn't feel significant enough, and I wanted him to have a name that felt important. So I'm thinking, what can I name this character? What can I give him a name that really suits who he is and his role in the story? And it took me a while, but I eventually came up with Michael. I liked that name for a lot of reasons. And then I went back and I read the original version of the story that I hadn't even looked at in like 8 years. And a character's name before it was ever Jacob was originally Michael. So I just went right back to where I started and I didn't even know it. It's amazing. But that confirmed to me that has to be his name. Because I come up with the best names when I'm not overthinking it, when I'm just like going with my gut instinct. And a lot of the characters that I named in that story and a lot of the ideas that I came up with, I literally just sat down as a little 13-year-old and just wrote it out, and it just happened. It just turned out the way that it did. It was completely not forced at all. And that's what made it good. So when I came back to it, with the original concept, and I knew that something didn't feel right. It was originally like a horror movie, and it was unnecessarily dark in some aspects because I was trying to force some stuff, but I came back to it with a new idea, and I was like, ooh, I can fix this. I can make this really good. So I did. And now it has a connection to Peter Pan. Again, just a coincidence, because it actually is largely related to the story of Peter Pan, and it is a super important part of it, and I can't imagine what it would be without that. But just by coincidence, the name Peter shows up a lot. There was a character named Peter that was unintentional, so you may think, oh, well, that's how you got the idea. Maybe, but at the same time, I couldn't have planned this shit. Like, it just works out so perfectly. It's incredible. You can hear footsteps and shit. Anyway, I'm gonna go because no one's commenting. It seems like no one's here, and I do want to wrap up I want to read the last chapter before I go back upstairs. So I'm going to go and I'm going to film my Tuesday video of me reading the story you just heard, just the last chapter of it, and I'll talk to you guys later. Before I go, does anyone have any final thoughts you want to share? Anyone want to say goodbye or anything? Yes, Dave? What's wrong? Why would something be wrong, Dave? See you next live, Royce. Actually, I'll just talk to you later tonight. But anyway, why, Dave? Why would something be wrong? You said no one is listening. Well, yeah, no one's commenting. I just don't really have much of an audience anymore. I mean, at this point, it's just people that I know personally who watch, which isn't really that big. It's just not fun. It's not motivating to make videos when you feel like no one is watching. But what I am motivated by is making stories like this, because that doesn't matter if anybody reads it. It's just about having a tangible version of something that I'm passionate about. There's only 2 of us watching tonight, which is weird. Yeah, I don't know where Cheryl is. I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna head out because there's nothing really going on, and it's been 45 minutes anyway. So, I'll see you guys next week. I decided to change my schedule. Instead of doing videos every Tuesday and live streams every Friday and Sunday, I'm gonna do live streams every other Sunday between the 2 channels. So still every Sunday if you're subscribed to both channels, but every other Sunday if you're only subscribed to one of the channels. And I'm only doing videos from now on when I feel like it instead of every Tuesday. Just because, like I said, no one's watching. I don't feel like I have anything to say at this point. I've already said it all. So just shifting my focus to something else. Have a great night, everybody. And thank you for being here. I'll have to see if I'm subscribed to both since to come recap. Yes, it's called Philosophical Psychology, Royce. Actually, you can just find it if you go to my homepage on this channel and scroll down.